The vastness of the Milky Way galaxy stretched far beyond imagination, home to countless alien civilizations, many of which had advanced far beyond Earth's wildest dreams. At the heart of this galaxy lay the Terran Dominion, a mighty empire whose influence spanned across countless worlds. Their fleet was unstoppable, their technology unmatched, and their resources endless. But even the Terran Dominion, despite its vast power, was always seeking to expand further, to conquer new worlds, and to bring them into its fold. Among the stars, one planet caught their attention: Earth. To them, humanity seemed like little more than an insignificant species, primitive and lacking in the advanced technology that the Dominion had long mastered. Yet Earth held something the Dominion couldn't ignore: untapped resources and the potential to grow into something far greater. The leaders of the Dominion, a collective of ruthless alien species, decided it was time to bring Earth into their ever-expanding empire. They sent an emissary, a sleek and cold representative of the Dominion, with a message that would forever change the course of human history: surrender now or face utter annihilation. The ultimatum was clear and chilling, but the aliens underestimated one thing: the resilience of humanity. On Earth, the message was received, but its significance was lost on many. Earth's governments, unprepared for the complexity of galactic politics, dismissed it as a distant threat, something that could never truly touch their world. How could a young, underdeveloped species like humanity possibly stand up against a galactic empire with weapons that could vaporize entire cities in an instant? To most, it seemed absurd. However, there were a small group of individuals who saw through the veil of arrogance the Dominion carried with them. Naomi Rourke, a former military strategist turned intelligence analyst, was one of those few. Her sharp mind and understanding of military strategy had made her a respected figure in the intelligence community. When the encrypted transmission first came through, Naomi knew immediately it was not just a random threat. She decrypted the message herself, and her instincts screamed that the Dominion's intentions were far more serious than anyone realized. The implications of the message were more than just words. They were a warning. As Earth's leaders sat back and did nothing, assuming they could safely ignore the threat, Naomi could already see the dark clouds gathering on the horizon. With urgency coursing through her veins, Naomi gathered a select group of scientists, analysts, and military experts. Together, they began to study the Dominion's message, hoping to uncover any hidden details that might give them a chance to fight back. The message, though clear in its demand, hinted at something far more dangerous: the Dominion's ability to wipe out civilizations without a second thought. Humanity was no longer just an observer in the galactic stage. They were now a target. But Naomi refused to accept that humanity had no way of defending itself. Earth may not have the technology or the firepower of the Dominion, but Naomi knew something they didn't. Humans had an unparalleled ability to adapt, to think creatively, and to overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles. It was this very trait that had allowed humanity to rise from the brink of destruction time and time again, from their early struggles to their wars and conflicts, to their eventual technological advancements. As Naomi and her team dug deeper, they began to uncover something that left them in awe: a hidden potential within Earth that could be the key to its survival. It wasn't just about weapons or technology. It was about the spirit of humanity, the relentless drive to survive and protect their home. But unlocking this potential would not be easy. The Dominion's fleet was vast, and their reach stretched far beyond what Earth could imagine. Even if humanity could fight back, how could they possibly defeat such an unstoppable force? As Naomi pieced together a plan, she felt the weight of the situation bearing down on her. Every second counted. The warning had been sent. Earth had been put on notice. But despite the growing sense of urgency, Naomi knew there was no turning back. The first steps had been taken. The fight for humanity's future had begun. The moment had arrived. The vast and imposing fleet of the Galactic Empire emerged from the cold depths of space, its colossal warships stretching across the heavens as they neared the edge of Earth's solar system. These ships were unlike anything humanity had ever imagined, their surfaces gleaming with advanced alien technology and designed for one purpose: domination. Inside the ships, legions of battle-hardened soldiers prepared for what they believed would be an easy conquest. To them, Earth was just another insignificant planet, ripe for the taking. The message they sent to Earth was clear and unwavering: surrender or face the complete destruction of everything humanity had ever known. At the heart of this operation was Kethor, the Empire's supreme leader, an alien figure of immense power and chilling resolve. His eyes, cold and unfeeling, burned with the certainty that humanity would cower in fear and bend to the will of his empire. There would be no fight, no resistance. They would bow, or they would burn. Back on Earth, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Naomi Rourke and her team worked around the clock, analyzing the data and deciphering the alien language to fully understand the scale of the threat. Each new revelation sent a shiver through Naomi's spine. The Galactic Empire had conquered countless worlds, entire civilizations reduced to rubble with little more than a fleeting resistance. These worlds, no different than Earth, had fallen one by one under the might of the Empire. The sheer power of the Empire's fleet was almost unimaginable, their technology far beyond anything humanity could hope to create. But Naomi wasn't blind to one critical detail. With each victory, the Empire had become more arrogant, overestimating its own superiority. They viewed their enemies as mere obstacles, crushed without a second thought. They thought the same would happen to Earth. But Naomi knew something the Empire didn't. Humanity was different. Humanity had always survived, thrived, and adapted against all odds. There was something in the human spirit that could not be calculated or predicted. It was something that technology alone could not understand or control. Naomi's heart raced as the clock ticked down. Time was running out. The Empire's final approach was imminent, and Earth's leaders, still in disbelief, struggled to comprehend the situation. But Naomi was determined not to let the fate of her world be decided by fear. Working with her team, she crafted a counter-message to send to Kethor and his fleet, a message that would echo across the stars, one that would prove humanity would not go quietly into the night. With careful precision, Naomi sent the message, the words simple yet powerful: "We will not kneel." It wasn't just a statement of defiance. It was a declaration of resistance, a promise that no matter the odds, humanity would fight. The message was sent into the void, carrying with it all the resolve of a species that had survived war, famine, and endless struggles. It was a message to the Empire, to Kethor, and to the galaxy that humanity was not just another prey to be hunted down. As the message traveled through the void, Earth's leaders scrambled to prepare for the inevitable assault. Earth's defenses, though primitive compared to the Empire's forces, were being bolstered as Naomi's team worked tirelessly to develop strategies and technologies to buy them some time. They had no illusions. Victory was a distant hope, but they had no choice but to fight. The message to the Empire was their first act of defiance, a way of showing that they would not be intimidated, not by Kethor's cold eyes or the might of his fleet. But as the Empire's fleet loomed ever closer, Naomi couldn't shake the feeling that something more was at play. She had studied the history of the Empire, their conquests, their ruthless efficiency. But there was something about the way the fleet moved, the way Kethor had ordered the attack with such certainty, that made her uneasy. The more Naomi thought about it, the clearer it became. The Empire had never faced an enemy like Earth, and perhaps, just perhaps, that could be their undoing. The Galactic Empire's response was swift and merciless. Without warning, their advanced warships unleashed a brutal barrage of firepower, targeting Earth's satellites and orbital defenses. The first wave of attacks shattered communication networks, severing Earth's link to the outside world and leaving the planet in a state of chaos. Cities plunged into darkness as infrastructure crumbled under the Empire's overwhelming assault. The shock of the initial attack left humanity reeling, scrambling to comprehend the scope of the destruction. In the blink of an eye, Earth's military assets were crippled. The Empire's forces, led by the cold and calculating Tefo, were relentless. Their ships glided through the sky, almost invincible, as they demolished anything in their path. It felt as though humanity's fight for survival was already lost. But Naomi Rourke's foresight had prepared her for this moment. She had seen the potential devastation in her mind's eye long before the first strike landed. While the world was panicking, Naomi and her team were already coordinating a counteroffensive. The weapons humanity had at its disposal were primitive compared to the Empire's advanced technology, but Naomi understood something crucial. Earth's strength was not in its firepower, but in its ability to adapt and think creatively. Quickly, Earth's leaders, galvanized by her strategies, began to implement unconventional tactics. They shifted to guerrilla warfare, using the terrain to their advantage, launching surprise attacks on the Empire's weak points. The world was united by fear, but also by a new sense of purpose. Each small victory, no matter how minor, proved that humanity could fight back. The Empire had expected Earth to fall easily, but it had underestimated the one thing that the Dominion could not calculate: the resilience of the human spirit. In the midst of this growing resistance, Naomi worked tirelessly to develop new technologies to counter the Empire's vast technological superiority. Using a combination of captured alien technology and Earth's own ingenuity, she created a disruptor pulse, a weapon capable of temporarily disabling the Empire's advanced machinery. Though the weapon was still in its early stages, Naomi's team managed to use it to strike at the heart of the Empire's most formidable war machines. The first test of the disruptor pulse was a success, disabling an entire fleet of the Empire's drones mid-air, leaving the alien soldiers confused and vulnerable. It was a small victory, but it sent a powerful message to the Empire. Earth was not as helpless as they had believed. As the battles raged on, humanity's resistance became more coordinated. Naomi's disruptor pulse, still in its infancy, was refined and deployed more effectively, creating new opportunities for human forces to strike back at the Empire. Yet, with every victory, another layer of danger emerged. While Naomi's team was focused on the immediate threat, they made a shocking discovery. Earth was not the only world the Empire had targeted in their relentless conquest. The Empire's brutal reign had left a trail of enslaved and oppressed civilizations across the galaxy, some of which had been watching Earth's struggle from the shadows. As word of humanity's resistance spread, these distant civilizations, long crushed under the Empire's boot, began to take notice. The news of Earth's defiance sparked something deep within them, a desire for freedom, for revenge, for liberation. An alliance began to form, unseen and unnoticed by the Empire. These civilizations, each with their own rich history and advanced technologies, started to communicate with Naomi's team. They shared their knowledge, their strength, and most importantly, their hatred for the Empire. Earth was no longer fighting alone. The first embers of a galactic rebellion were beginning to spark, fueled by the hope that humanity's courage could inspire others to rise up. Naomi realized that the battle for Earth was only the beginning. What started as a desperate struggle for survival had the potential to ignite a fire that could spread across the galaxy. The question now was not whether Earth could defeat the Empire. It was whether the Empire could withstand a unified force of countless races fighting for their freedom. As Naomi looked toward the future, she knew one thing was certain: Earth's fight had just become a fight for the entire galaxy. The war against the Galactic Empire continued to rage across the stars, but Earth's resilience was proving to be more than the Empire had ever expected. Despite being vastly outmatched in technology, humanity had adapted to the Empire's ruthless tactics with a combination of creativity, resourcefulness, and an unbreakable will to survive. Naomi Rourke, once just an intelligence analyst, had become the face of Earth's resistance, a symbol of hope and defiance. Her strategic brilliance had led to a series of daring operations, each one more audacious than the last. With each mission, Naomi and her team had successfully infiltrated the Empire's fleet, capturing alien technology that would have been thought impossible to obtain. The spoils of these high-risk missions were more than just weapons. They were keys to unlocking the Empire's vulnerabilities. The knowledge gained allowed Earth's scientists and engineers to reverse engineer the alien technology, tailoring new weapons and defenses specifically designed to exploit the weaknesses in the Empire's seemingly invincible fleet. As Earth began to turn the tide, its once impossible fight against the Empire started to look more like a war of attrition that could be won. Humanity's military strength grew in sophistication and scale, thanks to the new technologies at their disposal. Every successful strike against the Empire's forces boosted the morale of Earth's defenders, and soon they were striking with a precision that no one had thought possible. They knew the Empire had underestimated them, but they also knew their time was limited. The Empire would retaliate with even greater force, but for now, Earth had seized the initiative. Word of humanity's unexpected resilience spread throughout the galaxy, catching the attention of races that had been oppressed or obliterated by the Empire's expansion. These ancient civilizations, once conquered and enslaved by the Empire, had long harbored a deep hatred for their oppressors. When they learned of Earth's defiance, they saw an opportunity to strike back, to take part in something that could finally end the Empire's reign of terror. In secret, emissaries from these distant worlds began to arrive on Earth, offering their support. They brought with them much-needed resources, advanced technologies, and invaluable military support. Earth's small but growing alliance was not alone anymore. It had become the focal point of a galactic resistance movement. The Empire's greatest strength had always been its ability to isolate worlds and crush them under its boot, but now, humanity was becoming the unifying force that could rally the galaxy's oppressed races to its cause. The influx of allies brought new challenges, but also new hope. Earth's leaders worked tirelessly with their new allies, integrating their technologies into Earth's own forces and training together to face the Empire. Together, they formed a coalition that was much stronger than Earth had ever been on its own. Each new piece of technology, each new tactic and strategy shared by their allies, brought Earth closer to a level of parity with the Empire's vast fleet. It was a stark contrast to the early days of the war when humanity had been fighting alone, with nothing but sheer determination on their side. Back within the Empire's ranks, however, things were not as united as they seemed. While HFY continued to push for the complete destruction of Earth, his once unchallenged authority began to fracture. Some of his closest advisors were starting to question his methods. They saw humanity's survival as a mere fluke, an anomaly that would soon be crushed once the full might of the Empire was unleashed. But others, those more pragmatic, began to see Earth as more than just an obstacle. They began to view it as a serious threat to the Empire's stability. The idea that Earth could not only survive, but also rally others to its cause sparked concern in the Empire's leadership. HFY's vision of absolute control over the galaxy was beginning to crumble. As the internal tensions among the Empire's elite grew, factions began to form, some advocating for total eradication of humanity, while others argued for a more strategic approach. But as the infighting increased, so did the pressure on HFY. The unity of the Empire, once seen as its greatest strength, was now showing cracks. HFY's obsession with total domination was slowly becoming his greatest weakness, and even those within his own ranks were beginning to question if Earth's resistance was truly just a fleeting moment of defiance, or if it was the start of something much more dangerous, a revolution. As Naomi looked to the future, she knew one thing for sure: the battle had only just begun, and the Empire's days of unchallenged dominance were numbered. With the tides of war shifting, Earth's struggle for survival had grown into something much greater than anyone could have imagined. The formation of the Alliance of the Free, a union of Earth and its newly found allies, was the catalyst for a new chapter in the fight against the Empire. This coalition was made up of former slaves, refugees, and dissidents from across the galaxy, races that had once been crushed beneath the Empire's boot, but now saw in Earth's defiance a chance for their own liberation. These allies brought more than just words of support. They brought their fleets, technologies, and invaluable experience in resisting the Empire. With their aid, the Alliance's forces now matched the Empire's in size and capability. However, despite this newfound strength, the battle was far from over. The Empire was relentless, and Naomi Rourke, now appointed as the supreme commander of Earth's defense, had her work cut out for her. Under her leadership, Earth's forces, alongside their allies, began to unite their military strategies and efforts, strengthening their resolve to defend their home at all costs. The war was entering its most dangerous phase. Xathor, determined to crush Earth's spirit once and for all, launched a full-scale invasion, an assault that would test the limits of the Alliance's strength and unity. The Empire's war machines descended upon Earth like a storm, unleashing devastating firepower and overwhelming force. They brought with them the most advanced weapons in the Empire's arsenal, weapons capable of obliterating entire cities in an instant. This was no longer a fight for survival. It was a fight for the future of the galaxy. The Empire believed that with one final blow, they could shatter Earth's resistance and restore their domination. But they had underestimated the heart of humanity. The critical confrontation took place at what would later be called the Battle of New Hope. Located in Earth's most strategic region, New Hope became the stage for the most intense and brutal clash between the Alliance and the Empire's forces. Naomi, leading her forces from the front lines, knew this battle would determine the outcome of the war. The Empire's advanced weaponry unleashed hell on the planet's surface, its warships pounding Earth's defenses and reducing entire cities to rubble. But despite the overwhelming odds, Earth's defenders stood their ground, refusing to yield. Naomi's careful planning and strategic use of alien technology turned the tide in unexpected ways. The alien disruptor pulse, now perfected, was used to disable the Empire's advanced machines, buying precious moments for the Alliance to regroup and strike back. What the Empire didn't count on was the strength of unity. The Allied forces fought with an intensity and unity that had never been seen before. Former slaves and refugees from countless worlds stood side by side with Earth's own military, their hearts set on one goal: freedom. The Empire's forces, though technologically superior, could not match the sheer will and determination that Earth and its allies brought to the fight. In the thick of the battle, Naomi's tactical genius shone through. Her forces hit the Empire's weak points with surgical precision, using guerrilla tactics, traps, and surprise counterattacks. They were no longer just defending. They were striking with purpose, taking the fight directly to the heart of the Empire's invasion. As the battle raged on, Xathor himself led a ground assault, believing that by crushing Earth's resistance on the battlefield, he would break the Alliance's will to fight. However, what he encountered was something he had never expected. Earth's defenders were not afraid. They fought with a fire that burned brighter than the weapons of the Empire. The Empire's soldiers, once unshakable, were beginning to falter. Xathor himself was forced to reckon with the truth. This was not a battle of might alone. Earth's defenders fought not just for survival, but for their homes, their families, and their future. Despite the Empire's overwhelming technological advantage, the Battle of New Hope ended in a hard-won victory for Earth and its allies. The Empire's forces, battered and broken, began to retreat, their morale shattered by the fierce resistance they encountered. For the first time in the war, Earth had struck a decisive blow against the Empire. Xathor, who had once believed that Earth would kneel in submission, now found himself questioning his entire strategy. Earth's resolve had proven stronger than he had ever imagined. The war was far from over, but the Battle of New Hope marked the turning point. The Empire's once unshakable confidence had cracked, and humanity, united with its new allies, had proven that it would fight to the very end, no matter the cost. The final battle loomed on the horizon, and humanity stood poised for its ultimate confrontation with the Galactic Empire. Xathor, who had once dismissed Earth as a mere speck in the galaxy, now found himself facing a unified planet with an unprecedented alliance of worlds. Earth's once improbable resistance had grown into something far more powerful, a coalition of races, each with their own strengths and histories, all united by the promise of freedom. This new alliance had already dealt the Empire several devastating blows, and the once unified front of the Empire was beginning to fracture. Former allies of the Empire, races that had once been forced into servitude, had begun to turn their backs on their former masters. They saw in humanity a future of self-determination, a future they no longer wanted to deny. As the Empire's forces grew weaker, the cracks in Setho's reign deepened. His vision of an all-conquering empire was crumbling around him, and his desperation to hold on to power only fueled the fire of the rebellion. The stage was set for the final confrontation. The battle would take place in Earth's orbit, where humanity and its newfound allies would launch a full-scale assault on the heart of the Empire, the flagship of Setho, the pride of his fleet. This massive warship was not just a symbol of the Empire's might, it was also the key to their control. If it fell, so too would the rest of the Empire's forces. Naomi Rourke, now a seasoned warrior and leader, was given the task of leading a strike team aboard Setho's flagship. The mission was clear: eliminate Exthor and destroy the Empire's command structure once and for all. But this would not be an easy task. The Empire had poured every ounce of its remaining strength into defending the flagship. Naomi and her team would face fierce resistance, but she knew that humanity's survival depended on this mission's success. As the battle raged in the vastness of space, Naomi's team fought their way through the flagship's defenses, each step bringing them closer to their goal. The ship was a fortress, its corridors packed with soldiers loyal to the Empire, its systems fortified by the most advanced technology. The team was relentless, pushing forward with the same unyielding determination that had driven Earth's resistance from the very beginning. Naomi's leadership and the Alliance's unity proved to be their greatest strengths, allowing them to overcome every obstacle the Empire threw in their path. Despite the overwhelming odds, they fought with a fire fueled by the belief that they could win, that they could truly defeat an empire that had once seemed invincible. Finally, Naomi reached the heart of the flagship, the command center, where Xathos stood, awaiting the final confrontation. The two adversaries faced each other, their eyes locked in a silent understanding of the stakes. Xathor, towering and imposing, sneered at Naomi, confident that his empire's superiority would prevail. He boasted of the countless worlds the empire had crushed, the countless civilizations it had enslaved, and how humanity, with all its defiance, would ultimately fall to the might of the empire. But Naomi, unshaken, countered with the one thing the empire had never understood: the power of choice. Humanity had chosen to resist. They had chosen to fight for their future, for their right to determine their own destiny. That was the true power the empire had never accounted for. In that moment of defiance, Naomi made her move. With a swift and decisive strike, she disabled the flagship's control systems, plunging the Empire's fleet into chaos. The massive warship shuddered as its once impenetrable defenses crumbled. The Empire's command structure was broken, its leadership in disarray. Xathor, his arrogance finally broken, watched in disbelief as his empire began to collapse around him. The once feared Galactic Empire, which had seemed invincible, was now a mere shadow of its former self. With Xathor captured and his forces in disarray, the war was effectively over. The collapse of the Galactic Empire was not just a military victory, it was the triumph of humanity's spirit. A spirit that refused to bow, refused to surrender, and above all, refused to be crushed by the weight of oppression. Naomi stood victorious, not just as a leader, but as a symbol of the strength that lies in the choices we make, the belief in a future of freedom, and the unwavering will to fight for it. The Empire's reign of terror had ended, and in its place, a new hope had been born, one that would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. The final confrontation was over, but humanity's journey had just begun. With the fall of the Galactic Empire, a new era dawned for Earth, one that was marked by hope, resilience, and an unshakable belief in the power of freedom. The Empire, once a colossal force that seemed destined to rule the galaxy, had crumbled in the face of humanity's unwavering spirit. Earth, once seen as a primitive world beneath the Empire's notice, had become a symbol of defiance and strength, proving that even the mightiest civilizations could fall when they underestimated the resilience of those they sought to control. The victory of Earth was not just a military triumph, but a testament to the power of choice, unity, and the unbreakable will of a people fighting for their right to live free. Naomi Rourke, who had led humanity through the darkest hours, was now hailed as a hero. But her victory was not one of personal glory. It was the victory of every man, woman, and child who had stood together to face an overwhelming foe. The path ahead would not be easy. The war had left scars, both physical and emotional, and the work of rebuilding Earth's global society had only just begun. Yet, Naomi was undeterred. With the support of Earth's newfound allies, she began the long and arduous task of healing the wounds of war. She made sure that humanity's allies, the races that had stood by their side in the fight for freedom, were welcomed and given a voice. The once divided world of Earth had now become a united force, not just for survival, but for the promise of a better future, a future where all races, all civilizations, could live without fear of tyranny. Earth, though still recovering from the ravages of war, began to grow stronger, its reputation as a powerful independent force in the galaxy solidifying with each passing day. The influence of Earth spread far and wide, and it quickly became a beacon for other civilizations, large and small, who had long suffered under the Empire's rule. The story of humanity's resistance was told across the galaxy, and it inspired countless other races to rise up, to stand against the forces of oppression, and to fight for their freedom. The victory of Earth sent ripples throughout the galaxy, stirring the hearts of those who had once thought they would never see the day when they could stand as equals. Humanity, in all its flawed and imperfect glory, had shown the galaxy that even the most advanced empires could not stand against the power of determination and unity. Yet, even as Earth began to rebuild, there was a warning that lingered in the stars. The Galactic Empire may have been defeated, but the galaxy was still full of dangers. There would be new threats, new challenges, and new powers that sought to dominate. But humanity, having faced the greatest trial of its existence, now stood prepared. The message Earth had sent across the stars was clear: never underestimate the strength of those who fight for their home. The Empire's sights may have once been set on Earth, but the galaxy had learned that humanity was no longer just a victim waiting to be conquered. They were a force to be reckoned with, a people who would fight and rise again, no matter the odds. As the stars stretched out before them, Earth's future seemed uncertain, yet full of promise. The victory over the Empire had proven that no challenge was insurmountable, no enemy too powerful if humanity remained united. In the years that followed, Earth would continue to grow, its influence expanding, its people ever vigilant, always ready to defend their home and their freedom. The final war was over, but humanity's journey was just beginning. And so, as the sun rose over a rebuilt world, the stars held a new meaning for humanity, a reminder of what had been achieved and what still lay ahead. The message of Earth's victory would echo through the cosmos for generations, a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the endless possibilities that lay in the future.